Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 versus Pulp Fiction. Now, before we get into the comparisons between the two movies, first I want to discuss, obviously, Quentin Tarantino. He's a bit of a creep. Bit of a creep, really. So, yeah, just because you make good movies doesn't mean you're not a creep. I think it's Eli Roth who made Hostel and those movies. Good movies, bit of a creep still. You can be a creep and make good movies, still makes you a creep. So I say separate art from artists. And how do I separate art from the artist when it comes to Tarantino and his films? Whenever there's a scene with a foot in it, I close my eyes. Now, I will be making fun of his obvious fetishes during this video. Now let's get into the comparisons with the first categories. The first one being the story. So, what is the story for Kill Bill? Well, Beatrix Kiddo, aka the bride, she ran away from this assassin named Bill, but she had his baby, and he thought she was dead for 3 months. He ended up having his 5 deadly assassins beat Beatrix up and kill everyone else. And when she awoke from a 4-year coma, she thought her child was dead. And basically, she goes on a roaring rampage of revenge. It's very good, and essentially, she's getting her revenge by killing all the 5 assassins, one by one, ending with Bill. And it's told out of order because Tarantino, and like there's flashbacks here and there, but it's a pretty much straightforward story of revenge. It's supposed to be mirroring like the old Chinese, Japanese, like kung fu karate movies, where you would have usually someone's family member dying, usually the father dies because patriarchy, and then the son or daughter would get revenge. And this one's very unique because it's a very empowering female character, and it is probably one of the best films I've ever watched, and also one of the best female characters ever written. Because for me, Beatrix Kiddo rivals someone like Wonder Woman. She's that good. Now, as for Pulp Fiction story, it has both the advantage of being 3 stories, but also the disadvantage of time, since this is nearly 3 hours, whereas Kill Bill is just over 4 hours. So it has that disadvantage, and also since it's 3 stories in one, it can't go as in depth. But enough with like the obviously disadvantage of that. Let's go into the story of Pulp Fiction. So one of the stories is you have this boxer, and like he was working for like this crime person. He has this watch from his dead father back in the war, and basically he's on the run, and he ends up being tortured and R-worded in an S&M scene, which is very infamous. Obviously, I can't show much of that scene. That's one story. Another story is you have this couple, and basically what they're doing is they're robbing this cafe, which turns out this cafe is also where you've got this like crime duo. One of them's more like believes in God and is thinking he don't want to do crime anymore, whereas the other person is thinking like, who cares? And that's the John Travolta character, who ends up taking care of Uma Thurman. Like, they basically go on a date, but it isn't a date. Yeah, so basically, he takes care of Uma Thurman. She ends up having an overdose, which he saves her from. And basically, she goes off of drugs, and he ends up. And basically, the cafe scene, it's the start of the film and the end of the film. And John Travolta's character ends up shooting someone. They have to clean it up. That's where you get the cameo from the director. And yeah, that's basically all 3 stories, and they end up intertwining in ways. Like the boxer who's running away from the crime boss. The crime boss is also Uma Thurman's husband, who John Travolta, obviously he basically goes on a date with Uma Thurman's character. And the boxer and the crime boss end up getting tortured in the S&M scene. But he also has ties because there's like this suitcase, which is how obviously John Travolta's character and the other character played by Mike Jackson, they end up escaping because the crime boss gave them this suitcase with something in it. You never find out. You just see like the glow, but you never like find out what it is. So yeah, that's the story for Pulp Fiction. And now I'm gonna compare it to see what like if it's better than Kill Bill's story. So Kill Bill's story I'd probably give a 9 out of 10, whereas Pulp Fiction I'd give 7.5 out of 10. Now, since Kill Bill has like 5 to 6 villains, with some side villains obviously, it does have the advantage over Pulp Fiction. So let's get into villains first. I want to talk about the smaller like villains, and then ending off with the main villain being Bill. So first, you have Copperhead, who's played by Vivian A. Fox, and she's fun. She's really good. You don't see her for a short time. All you get is like she's an assassin, which is cool, obviously. You get like the idea that she has a daughter now, and she's a reflection of Beatrix slash the bride. I'm probably going to call it bride or Beatrix anyway. She's a reflection of the life the bride wanted but wasn't able to live, and you do see this reflection in another female assassin later on in the film, which I'll get to. Next, I'm going to talk about Gogo, who isn't one of the 5 assassins, but she's like a henchman. It's kind of like she's kind of like Harley Quinn, where and then Owen Ishii is like the Joker. It's kind of like that, not as in their dynamic, but like Batman would fight Joker first, then Joker. It's kind of like because the bride fights uh, Gogo and then Owen Ishii, and Gogo's a child, which I'm gonna get into something quickly. The other thing I want to get into quickly is Gogo's a child who she's a schoolgirl kind of thing where like she kills predators, which good. Predators are bad, but it's like that's 2 characters in this film who are Japanese, and it's only the Japanese characters who like have to deal with like sexual predators, as in like pedophiles, whereas like it's only in that, and it doesn't really happen to other characters in the film, which is a bit gross. But it's only Japanese ones. I'm not saying it's it. I understand that obviously Japan has different laws, and it probably is something they have to deal with. But it's just a bit gross that it's only to the Japanese characters, like, and it's only like yeah, it's gross. But I will say it's also empowerment because it's like the women taking back control of their bodies and using uh, their looks as a weapon to kill these evil, nasty men. It's still a bit weird, but like Tarantino's done weirder, like creepier stuff. Again, some of the stuff with feet in his stuff is genuinely gross. Like, it's gross. But anyway, back to the villains with my favourite one, Elle Driver. Now, the character of Elle Driver is she's so much fun. Like you can tell, the actress is having a ball playing her. She's really cool. I like that her and Beatrix trained under the same master, and you can kind of see Elle Driver as a character. She just wants to live the same life Beatrix lived, like the assassin life. Not she wants to live the life Beatrix ran away from. And also, she has an eye patch. And she's in my favourite scene of the movie, the one where she's like whistling. It's the same song used in American Horror Story as well, and it's so much fun. I love that she's kind of like a poisons person, and I also like her death scene is really cool. The fact that where her eye gets taken out, and that fight scene is probably one of my favourite fights of all time because it's fun. And then obviously you have her killing Bud with a snake because she's giving him money for a katana. But then it turns out she put a black mamba in there, and since obviously Beatrix, when she was an assassin, she killed people with black mambas, so that's actually really cool and smart. And she is a really fun villain, and it's a shame we don't really have like female rivals against each other in movies anymore. Like the last time I can remember a female rivalry in something besides Mean Girls was The Boys. Now, as for Oren Ishii, played by the wonderful, I forgot. Oh, she was in Charlie's Angels. I'll write it down. I'll add it in later if I can remember to add it in later. But anyway, she's really great. I love her and Beatrix's dynamic because it's fun, and I do like because it's like a Batman Arkham game that she has a bunch of like these crazy 88 go after Beatrix before she can get just to tire her out for their fight. I also love her backstory. One, it's a really good backstory, and two, because it's all like in this anime style and it's really fun and it's just really a creative way to show her backstory in a different way that isn't just a flashback. And it was also, I'm guessing, it was probably done because obviously ratings and they couldn't show too much blood. It was probably also done because of that. But the point I'm trying to make is it's a really good backstory. She's a really fun character, and I also love her death because. And originally they were supposed to do decapitation, but I like that instead she's just scalped and her brain is exposed. It reminds me of what the main death everyone remembers from Hannibal, and it's a fun way to show how sharp the sword is. Now, as for the character of Bud, he's okay. The actor's really good at the portrayal. I like that he's the most remorseful assassin. Like he feels the most bad for what he did to Beatrix, and I like that he also is the most one of the more challenging because after obviously Beatrix flies through everyone else before in Volume One he shoots her, gets her in a coffin, buries her underground, and it actually gives her a challenge. I mean, she has to figure out a way to get through it, and it also shows you into her struggles in the past, and it's just a good way of, giving her a challenge. And his death is also good, that he's written by the Black Man, but I've already gone about that. Anyway, now for Bill, I really like him. The first one that you never see him, really, you don't see much of him. It's he's kind of left in the shadows and like this presence, and then Tarantino doesn't carry out that in Volume Two. You see him straight away, which I really like because it makes him scarier. The fact that you see him straight away, it's not a grand reveal or anything, and it's also scarier because he just shows up, and that is terrifying in my opinion. That he just shows up and he can find her that easily in the flashback in Volume Two, and yeah, his death I really like. I know not lots of people don't like his death, but I do. Yeah, and with Volume 2, I will say it is more slower paced, and I do actually prefer that because it gives more character development, and especially with Bill, the fact that it slows down makes sense, since obviously out of all the assassins, he is probably the oldest and the one that's not the most physically strongest, which that is why I like that his scenes are slowed down and it is just really fun. And I do like that they didn't cross out his name in the credits like all the others who got murdered. So it did leave it open for a volume 3 if they wanted to bring him back. Obviously they probably won't do that now because they'd have to recast since the actor's dead, which I'm not opposed to recasting, and I mean they could say like he just got plastic surgery so he could be hidden and trick Beatrix for volume 3, but would I want a volume 3? Hell yeah. But anyway, side tangent aside, I really like what they do with Bill. He's probably one of my favourite villains. That's clear. And yeah, and he's a good villain. Now, into the villains of Pulp Fiction. So, since obviously Pulp Fiction, it's three stories in one, it has three villains, which naturally you'd think. Yeah, it does, and yeah, it does. First, you have this person who basically there's about to be a shootout in his shop, but you find out I'm presuming a rapist, and he ends up doing that to a character, and it's in the S&M scene, and he's a very messed up villain, and I like it. I like him as a villain. It reminds me a lot of like Hellraiser, mainly because Hellraiser obviously was based on S&M, and yeah, he's a really good villain. The next villain is like this crime person. Think less Godfather, more Kingpin from Daredevil. 2003 Daredevil. Which, yeah, he's a good villain. I do like him. And yeah, he's good. And I like that over the course of the movie, he gets less villainous and more sympathetic. And, just he's more sympathetic towards the end than at the beginning. And then the other villains is this couple who do a lot of robberies with guns and just to get money. And the couple themselves, the wife is more insane, but they do match each other's freak, if that makes sense. They're both insane, but the wife is slightly more insane, and what she does is she gets people's money, whereas the other person just gets ready to shoot people. And she holds people hostage, gets people's wallets, and they end up doing it at this cafe where John Travolta and Samuel Jackson are eating. And yeah, basically that's what happens. They end up robbing people, and they do end up getting the money they want in the suit. I'm presuming it's money they get. Yeah, they get money from Samuel Jackson after he distracts them with the magic suitcase. And basically, yeah, I think they're a decent villains. But obviously, in Pulp Fiction, it's not like Kill Bill where you have a sympathetic lead and most other and then you have obvious villains. Whereas in Pulp Fiction, it's a bit more grey where all the characters do some bad, some more than others. Like obviously Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta are, when it's on a scale of good and evil, they're in the middle. Whereas obviously the villains I've mentioned in this section of the video, they're more towards the end of evil. But yeah. Now, while I love Kill Bill, I will admit the tones between Volume 1 and 2 are a bit all over the place, because Volume 1 is a non-stop action ride, whereas Volume 2 is a bit unbalanced with the action and does take time to slow down in spots where it probably shouldn't, mainly in the ending. Now, I love the ending, but I will admit the tone of Kill Bill is a bit messy. And yeah, it's not the best tone, but it's balances it enough to be passable. But I will admit there's some jokes that don't land, and some parts where it probably could have used a bit of more time to slow down and give more character in the first volume. The second volume, I think, is a better balance of tone, whereas volume 1, I feel like, needed a better balance between action and character development. But that's where I think, since it's two volumes of the same story, it does obviously cancel them out. But if I'm thinking of it as a whole, watching them both as a whole, it probably does. The tone probably isn't the most consistent in some moments, but only some. It is mostly consistent, I'd say. So for the tone of Kill Bill, I'd probably give it 6.5. Now, as for Pulp Fiction, it is probably the one thing I'll give over Kill Bill. The tone of Pulp Fiction is consistent since it is just one movie, so obviously it has less mistakes to make, and it might not be as inconsistent, because from start to finish, it is a Tarantino film, so the tone is consistent, being that you have obviously scenes of violence, but at the end of the day, the characters are very much like real people talking about random shit that doesn't seem like it adds to the plot, but ends up adding to the plot at the end of the day. And it's a very consistent tone compared to Kill Bill, and yeah, and the way it jumps from action to more serious drama, and back to a bit more comedic, it feels more natural than when Kill Bill jumps from the action to slower scenes, whereas the slower scenes in this and the action scenes, they do flow nicer together, and it does have really serious moments, and emotional moments, like the overdose scene is really impactful. And, like Kill Bill does have those scenes, the death scenes are mainly what I'm thinking of, and the confrontation with Bill. But overall, this has a better tone. Now, the action in Kill Bill, it is very much dramatic and like very stylized, and like it's corny it's cheesy, corny, and over the top, and I love it. Like I love how much blood there is for one, and I love that all the deaths in it and the action is practical, and that's what I love. And I love that a lot of the stunts you can see that they're really good and well choreographed, and I just think the action in this is brilliant. Like I'm gonna go over my favorite ones. My favorite action scene would probably be the one in Japan with Oren Ishii, where you've got Beatrix fighting the Crazy 88. Like that whole sequence, the last 40 minutes of the first film, outstanding. The other ones that stand out to me are obviously the opening of Kill Bill #1. That whole scene with the Rita Green. I like how it slows down and then picks back up. Like it's a good balance. And then the other one is obviously the fight scene where you have with Elle Driver. Like that's phenomenal. That fight scene and that death. And it makes me so happy every time I watch it. I could watch it 1,000 times and still be happy. And as for Bill's death, I like it's a little bit of action, but not too much. Now, as for Pulp Fiction, there's not as much action in the movie. There's more like just firing guns at people and they die. The action, and some of the action is even off screen, which I am actually okay with. Like the most action, because it's more grounded. But since this is the action segment, yeah, can't be too forgiving. Like the most action you get is a car chase scene and some like people being shot. That's the most like there's one scene where someone gets shot a lot. Like their head goes everywhere. I really liked that piece of gore, but there is a lot of it where it's like there's not too much action, but that's where the compelling characters come in to like level out the playing field from since a lack of action is made up for by the characters and storytelling. And it's the same for Kill Bill, Volume 1 at least. The lack of characters and storytelling is made up by the action. And obviously, Volume 2 has more characters, so like it has a good balance. It like levels itself out a bit more. But yeah, a Pulp Fiction, it's very light on the action, but the bits we do get are really enjoyable. I'll give it that. So the action for Pulp Fiction, I'd probably give it a 5 or a 6. Now, to get right who's the main character of Pulp Fiction, since obviously it's 3 segments film, I just uh, ma- wondered which character has the most screen time, and it's John Travolta's character. Now, is he better than the bride? No. I mean, I like his character. I like that he's a more pessimistic, non-religious guy, and I like that he contrasts well with my Samuel Jackson's character. But it's just, I feel like since again 3 segments, even though yes, he's in it the most, he still doesn't have enough development uh, to be like a great main character. He's serviceable as a main character. I'd probably give Pulp Fiction with its lead a 5 out of 10. It's really he's Vincent Vega is the character's name. He's decent. I like his scenes with Samuel L. Jackson, and I also like his dynamic he has with Mia Wallace, who's Uma Thurman's character. Their dynamic is really fun, and I like that he has a heart and he's willing to, save Mia from her overdose. That's really good. Even if, yes, he's doing it for selfish reasons, saving her from the overdose. A, it's his fault, and also it's a nice thing to do. As for Kill Bill, it's the obvious winner. I'm sorry, but yeah, the bride slash Beatrix, awesome character. I like the development she goes through. Because, again, since it's told out of order, like most Tarantino films, you get to see her start off as this strong character. Then you see like a struggle she had to through. Then you see her back to being strong. Then in volume 2, you see her having to go through more struggles and even more struggles from her past and the present. Until finally, you get her, succeeding and getting what she accomplished. And by the end, yeah, she's happy, but she's also like crying on the floor because like she's going to be traumatized by what she had to go through, and I like that it acknowledges this. Like, and with it's just great because she's traumatized by everything through her life, but she doesn't let it stop her from doing what she wants and getting her revenge, and it's really damn good. She's one of my favorite female characters, or just characters of all time, really. She is probably my favorite main character. I prefer her. She's better than James Bond, in my opinion, and characters like that. She's just one of my favourite characters, and she's damn good. So now, before I go on to say who is the winner, you can probably figure it out anyway. But before I say who the winner of this versus video is, I just want to say a little thing. Tarantino is a creep because, like, why is there so many shots of feet in this? It disgusts me. Number one, I already hate feet as it is. I think feet are disgusting. But showing it all the way through the film, like both of these films, whenever I saw feet, I was like, "Ugh." I hated it. I hated it all. And also, like, I know it's a reality that women have to go through, but did you really have to have two women be victims of pedophiles and have the bride be a victim of several rape stuff and trafficking? Like, come on, it's like, ew, it's a bit gross. But again, Tarantino isn't as bad as Eli Roth. Now, him and women. He says some pretty gross things about women in interviews, and in his films, he says gross things about women. Like in the Hostel films, why is it that all women are evil in Hostel? He's a bit gross, and he's a bit of a creep, and I don't think he's changed. He's just changed on how he addresses it. And yeah, both Eli Roth and Tarantino are creeps, and these films are good though. Pulp Fiction I give a 4.5, and Kill Bill is a perfect film for me. It's in my top 4 of my favourite films of all time on Letterboxd. So yeah, this was just my in-depth thoughts on Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction. Since obviously I didn't want to go too in depth when it comes to my Letterboxd review, so I thought I'd go in depth here on YouTube and TikTok. And yeah, love you all. Please follow and subscribe, like, comment, whatever you can do to support, and I'll obviously do more stuff like this. And bye. And please suggest any other movies or shows you want me to do versus videos of. I am thinking of doing Heartstopper versus Heated Rivalry, or like a horror film versus another horror film. I'd really want to do that, like It Chapter 1 versus 2. So yeah, please comment down below, and love you all, and bye.